2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 6 through 7. Paul here is writing the end of his life to his spiritual son, Timothy, whom he loved very much. And Paul says, "For I am already being poured out as a drink offering, and the time of my departure has come." He's not departing from an airport, is he? He'll be departing from this earthly plane. That's a different plane. Okay, somebody got that, Steve, thank you.
I was trying to hold back.
I have fought the good fight. All of us have a fight. Life will feel like a fight at times. I have finished the race. Paul does this quite often. He draws up this image for us as we go through life that it is a race. A race has to have rules and boundaries and lanes, and it has to have a start and a finish. Paul says that's what life is, and hopefully it's not a 100-yard dash. I used to think marathons were, well, it's still inconceivable to me that anyone can run 26.2 miles. But that's not enough for modern guys. They do ultra marathons where they attempt to run 50 miles, where they attempt to run 100 miles.
Or shoving bicycle on the road.
Yes,
I remember.
yes, let's do it all. Let's triathlon. Look, we each have a race set before us. A course, a journey. I have kept the faith. This is a song we sang quite often as I grew up. You may not be able to read that print. I got it as big as I could. But it is the hymn, "The Last Mile of the Way." I don't know that we've sang this. We should sing this sometime.
Not with that smoke print.
What's that?
Not with that print.
Not with that print. The first verse. "If I walk in the pathway of duty, if I work till the close of the day, I shall see the great King in his beauty when I've gone the last mile of the way. When I've gone the last mile of the way, I will rest at the close of the day, and I know that their joys will await me when I've gone the last mile of the way." Now, none of us know where the last mile lies. None of us are privy to the finish line. Could be today. It could be today. It may be in decades. But it will come. Rest assured. That we do know. Jesus walked from where judgment was cast to the point of Golgotha. Have you contemplated that walk? Do you know how far that walk was? It was a long way. Yeah. It was about a mile to get from where he started, where judgment was cast. Now, what did he have with him? He bore the cross. You see, Rome pronounced him to be crucified, and it was not 20 feet outside. The Jews would not have executions within the city walls. You had to be executed outside the city walls. And so Jesus had to bear the cross. Let's talk about that for a second. The cross. Vertical, horizontal. Like our relationships. If he carried both, we're talking 300 pounds. I don't pick up 300 pounds and walk that kind of distance. If he carried just the cross beam, we're looking at about 125 pounds. And we will discuss that walk today. But people, Christians, around the year 600, began to map out where they believe that path was. Around 800, they had it pretty well down, and they assigned what they call stations. There's 14 stations to the Via Dolorosa. That is the Latin for the way of sorrow. And that's what Jesus had to walk, the way of sorrow. Some call it the way of the crux, or the way of the cross. Begins on the eastern side of the city. This is where Pilate will pronounce judgment. And then, as tradition has it, Jesus will be carrying his cross until he's outside the city wall. Some of the things we will look at, we know happened. Other parts I will say, this is tradition. This part is tradition. This is what men think. And where they assigned every incident, we don't know for sure that either. But this is the way of sorrow. And people still walk it every week. Every week. If you go to Jerusalem, your tour guide may say, would you like to do the Stations of the Cross, the Via Dolorosa? Earl has done it. Has anyone else done it? You've done it? I get chills thinking about that. Matthew chapter 27, starting in verse 22. Pilate said to them, "Then what shall I do with this Jesus who is called Christ?" And they all said, "Let him be crucified." And Pilate said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Let him be crucified." Now there's two types of hearts that are in this crowd. There is a heart here in the crowd that's filled with hatred, and they want nothing more than to see Jesus dead. There's also people in the crowd who love him, and they want nothing more than to see Jesus live. Keep that in mind. So when Pilate saw he was gaining nothing, Pilate was trying to have Jesus released. But he sees, I'm losing ground here. Rather that a riot was beginning, he took water and he washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I am innocent of this man's blood. You see to it yourselves." And all the people answered, "His blood be on us and on our children." Now look, that's the first perspective that I gave you. We want him dead. We want his blood flowing. We want his body's loss of blood to lead to his death. We want it so badly that we will put the responsibility on ourselves and on our children. That's how badly we want it. Ironically, I pray this same prayer. I want the blood of Christ on me. But it's from a point of love. I have no salvation without it. I want the blood of Christ on me. And I pray that it's on my children, and I pray that it's on my grandchildren. But you see what I'm talking about, right? Two different perspectives. Then Pilate released for them Barabbas. He tried that, and that didn't work. Now, we begin the way of sorrow. Having scourged Jesus, he beat him. He had the soldiers beat Jesus with a whip. He delivered him to be crucified. Station 1. As you see these, you will find that certain churches will take a portion of this way and they will erect a chapel over a particular station. And Station 1 is one of those, as you see. That's the Church of Flagellation. This is where they think Jesus was actually beat nearly to death. He definitely was bloody. He definitely was bruised. He definitely was spit upon. He definitely had the thorn of crowns beat into his head. And as I said, we're beginning here on the east and we're walking west. John 19, verse 17. And Jesus went out bearing his own cross to the place called the place of a skull, which in Aramaic is called Golgotha. He has started his last mile. He has started towards what he knows and everyone else will be his execution. And the crowd will travel with him. Okay? Keep that in mind. The crowd is going along. Station 2, Jesus is taking up his cross. We go from 2, and the next station will be a good bit of distance to the 3rd spot. And this is where it is believed that Jesus falls. I'm going to confess something. And I was going to ask all of y'all. But not everybody is comfortable raising their hand. Did Jesus fall or stumble under the weight of the cross? I would have bet the farm. I would have bet the farm that the Bible said Jesus fell. It doesn't. Neither Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John ever state that Jesus stumbled or fell under the weight of the cross. That is tradition. Did he? We do not know. I associated it to station number 5, Simon Cyrene. That Jesus fell and he couldn't go on any longer and the Roman soldier. But that's not what the Bible says. It's one of those, what do they call those? Where you think for sure.
Mandela.
Yeah,
The Mandela
effect.
Yes, that's one for me.
Or
I would have bet the farm on it.
Or what we refer to as a wives' tale.
Jesus falls for the first time.
Could also be a John Huston effect. Movies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tradition says that this fall, there will be 3 falls, that this fall was to show his humility. What we do know is that it's a hard thing to contemplate the God-man. It's hard to contemplate Jesus being hungry or thirsty or weak. But he suffered all of those, the same as you and I. So for him to have fallen, he very well may have, but we do not know, the scriptures do not say. This is tradition. Next station is here in the Armenian Church of Our Lady of the Spasm. That doesn't translate real well, does it? Mary is who they're speaking of, okay? She's the lady. But do not think of a muscle spasm. This is her heart wrenching inside
It's
her.
emotional.
This is her aghast at seeing her son carrying his cross. And this is station 4 on the Via Dolorosa. Tradition, we do not know, but tradition is that at this point, Jesus comes into contact with his mother. Now think about that, moms. Would you spasm? Yeah. Your whole soul would just lurch within yourself, seeing your son in this condition. This harkens back to the prophecy of Simeon in Luke chapter 2. In Luke 2, Jesus and Mary Joseph and Mary bring Jesus to the temple to have him presented and dedicated, and there they meet a prophet and a prophetess. And Simeon is the prophet, and he announces the blessing upon Jesus, and then he says to Mary, a sword will pierce your heart and your own soul. Each one of these stations is marked by one of these medallions. After station 4, he proceeds on, and this is at station 5, the chapel of Simon of Cyrene. Luke 23. And as they led Jesus away, they seized one, Simon of Cyrene, who was coming in from the country, and they laid on him the cross to carry it behind Jesus. I don't know if the Roman soldiers were just aggravated at the pace that this was taking. I don't know whether or not this was the fact that Jesus could no longer bear up the weight, but it is believed that Simon helps Jesus.
It's possible Simon was
Maybe.
a healthy force.
Maybe. This indicates that they feel Simon was helping Jesus. Maybe if it was the whole cross, Jesus still had the front, and Simon may have picked up the base of the cross, the foot of the cross, and helped Jesus as he traveled. Station 6 is the Chapel of Veronica. The Greeks own this one. You'll see the medallion again up top. This is tradition. It is believed that one who loved Jesus, one of the women, and there was a group of women that were following along. We'll see that one of them was named Veronica. She came forward to wipe the face of Jesus, to wipe the sweat. Yesterday, Trunny and I were working in the yard, and she helps with that. And she was on the mower. She's doing the mower, and I'm weeding. And it's as hot as my house as it is at your house.
It's pretty bad yesterday.
It's pretty hot.
It was bad.
It's the middle of the day. And I can't tell you about how many times I had to set that weed eater down and wipe the sweat out of my eyes. Because after a while, you can't see. You literally are blinded by the sweat. And for Jesus, it would be all the worse. It would be sweat and blood. Tradition is that his face miraculously imprinted into that rag. Some feel that the name Veronica is a combination of two words, that it was verified or that it had veracity and that it was an icon. And so they put those together. Veracity, icon, Veronica. This is tradition. Station 6. You can see we're working our way across. I find this interesting. The distance from where we began to station 3, good bit of distance. He falls here again at 7, that's a little less, and then he will fall again at 9. Again, half the distance. Tradition. And we are at number 7. Jesus falls a second time. When you walk these stations, you are encouraged to stop at each one, to pray and to meditate. And so here at station 7, your meditation is to be on the perseverance of Jesus's suffering. The fact that he is continuing forward under these conditions. We've now made it to 7. 8 is right outside the city gates. Not now, but the old city gates of Jerusalem. Here at station 8, he's made it outside and he knows he's very close to where Golgotha is. And there are women following, and Jesus takes the time to address these women in Luke 23 and verse 27. A great multitude of people and of women were mourning and lamenting for him. But turning to them, Jesus said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me." How could you not? How could you not but weep for him? And it's fascinating to me that he takes the time of anything he says. This is the only time that we know he speaks on the way of sorrow. And he takes the time to address these women. Do not weep for me, daughters of Jerusalem, but weep for yourselves and for your children. Now, what's this go back to? This should take you back to the Mount of Olives. And what does he do at the Olivet Discourse? He pronounces the judgment that's coming on Jerusalem. And he says, you're going to see these signs, and you're going to know that this place is about to be destroyed, and you better flee. And again, he does it on the way of sorrow. Do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming when they will say, blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed. Why would you say that? Because you know you're about to be destroyed. And you do not want your children slaughtered. So you say, blessed is the woman who does not have to worry about her child under these conditions. Then they will begin to say to the mountains, fall on us, please, and to the hills, cover us. This you'll know, you'll recognize as the Church of the Sepulchre. So we're right outside. This is where everything is about to happen. And at number 9, he falls for the third time. This is to show his submitting to the Father's will by tradition. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is 10 through 14. This is the very consummation. All four are inside the church. Number 10, Jesus is stripped of his garments. John 19, when the soldiers had crucified Jesus just prior, they took his garments and divided them into 4 parts, 1 part for each soldier. So now we have an idea of how many soldiers there is required to hold a man down and to drive nails through his limbs. Also his tunic. But the tunic was seamless, woven in one piece from top to bottom. Don't miss the symbolism on this. The intimate apparel for Jesus is woven one piece top to bottom. What else is about to happen? Top to bottom. Real soon, God is going to take a hold of the veil within the temple and he will rent it from top to bottom. So they said to one another, let us not tear it, but let us cast lots to see whose it shall be. This was to fulfill the scripture which says, they divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. So the soldiers did these things. That's Psalm 22. So many of the things that men do unwittingly are fulfilling what God prophesied hundreds and thousands of years before they took place. Station number 11, Jesus is crucified. 2 others who were criminals were led away to be put to death with him. And when they came to the place that is called the skull, there they crucified him and the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. Often when we are partaking of the Lord's Supper and we are encouraged to remember, my mind will often be at the trial, and then my mind will be right here at this point, at the actual crucifixion. But it wasn't instantaneous, was it? It was a long, hard, grueling journey. We're still inside the church. It is magnificent inside the church. We went to this when we were there. Number 12 is where Jesus dies. John 19, when Jesus had received the wine, this is the final 4th cup of the Passover. There was 4 cups of wine in the Passover, and we know he did the first 3 at the upper room. Here he drinks wine a last time, and he said, it is finished. And he bowed his head, and he gave up his spirit. Can you see the slab here? Mm-hmm. It looks glass encased. It's not. If you're willing to stand in line, you can touch that stone and say a prayer. This is the stone of anointing. John 19. After these things, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a disciple of Jesus, but secretly. Why? Joseph of Arimathea was a very wealthy man. Why would you secretly follow Jesus? Because you want to stay a wealthy man. To announce allegiance to this individual may very well cast you out. You want to hold on. You know what wealthy people spend the most of their time doing? just trying to stay wealthy. It isn't to make more and more. It's to hold on to the wealth that has been already accrued. And Joseph is just like us. He worries. And here he wants to follow Jesus, but he does so secretly for fear of the Jews. But he asked Pilate whether he might take away the body of Jesus. And Pilate gave him permission, so he came and took away the body. Now, what did we just discuss? That was a long walk from where Pilate was. Pilate didn't follow along. Pilate, no king, no governor is going to follow along and watch the execution. So what does Joseph of Arimathea have to do? He has to walk the way of sorrow back. Why ask for the body until he's dead? You wouldn't. He's there. He sees he's dead. Now he walks back and asks Pilate. And it was a brave thing to do. In fact, Mark adds this verbiage. Joseph of Arimathea took courage. He had to muster up the courage. Because once he did this, he was marked. Once he did this, everybody knew you're a Jesus lover. Nicodemus, also, who earlier had come to Jesus by night, same story, isn't it? You come to Jesus by night because you're too scared to come to him by day. They came bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds in weight. And they took the body of Jesus. They had to take it from where? They had to take it from off the cross. I had the Zechariah passage up earlier. You will gaze upon the one you pierced. That's not an easy task. There's certain things, they're almost impossible to speak. But to take a body off of a cross, yeah, pull those nails. And they bound it in linen cloths with the spices, as is the burial custom of the Jews. Tradition. Again, I say tradition. Tradition is, this is where they did that. And finally, Jesus is laid in the tomb. Behind this spectacular facade is an old Jewish tomb. You see those every spring. You're going to see pictures of what a Jewish tomb looked like. And what it is a doorway that is carved into the side of a mountain, and in there is hewn out a place for people's bones to be gathered. In the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb in which no one had yet been laid. That tomb was owned by Joseph of Arimathea. One of our beloved members will say from up here that he doesn't have to fear death. Why? Why can you live without fear of death? Because you're going to walk this. You don't have a choice. You're going to walk this. But it's been done for you. And it's been done because you can't do it right. Carl said, who's gone this week without any sin? Now, I didn't see anybody's hand go up. Jackson thought he might, but he didn't. We only have access because he walked that walk. That's it. Are you just willy-nilly now gonna just dance and prance around? You're not. You're not. We close with Luke chapter 9. These are the words of Jesus. If any of y'all would come after me, let him deny himself and let him take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. So we have a walk. We take up that cross, our cross, but we can only bear it because our Savior has walked it before us perfectly. Was he happy about this? Listen, what did he pray in the garden? If it's your will, let this pass from me. At station number 9, the answer was no. You will submit. So let us not take that lightly.
But we know the end.
We do know
We
the end.
don't know when the end is, but we do know the end. We know the end of that story, we know the end of our story, right?
Yes, because what happened at station number 14 3 days later?
So,
The stone rolled back.
so you get, but it wasn't an easy road.
No.
That's key. It wasn't an easy road to get to the end, to get to the finish line that you spoke of earlier, where we know where we're going, where Jesus knew where he was going and why he was going there and did it for us. I'm trying to organize my thought around this, but you know, the Knicks won the NBA last night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
How did they get there?
Sacrifice.
I mean, right? But how did they get there? How's the person that's gonna win the US Open next week gonna get there? What if they knew already that they were gonna win?
Mm.
Then what would they do leading up to it if they already knew they were gonna win? It's just an interesting thought. We know the end of this story. So what are we gonna do leading up to the end? We don't know when the end is. But what are we gonna do leading up to the end? We already know what the end of the story is.
We can get lazy with that confidence and that knowledge.
That's true.
That's why
You can-
James tells you, don't get lazy.
You could get lazy or you could be obedient.
Right.
Pastor, is that?
Revelation 2:10 says, "Be thou faithful unto death,
That's right.
and I will give you a crown of life."
That's the
And your
key.
good works will follow you.
That's the key.
I think it's like you said with the rich people, they don't always try and get more, they're trying to stay rich. So if we have salvation, we're continually trying to keep that.
That's
salvation.
right. That's right.
The point is, it's that belief. My point in bringing up the basketball game, I don't think, if you knew the outcome, you were gonna win the championship. I don't think if you were given a playbook and said, if you do these things, you're guaranteed to win, why would you not do those things?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mhm.
Why would you get complacent?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't get complacent. You'd say, well, heck yeah, I'm gonna do all these things exactly the way they told me to do them. I was taught to do them because I know the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an interesting thing.
What's that fellow's name, who said, I don't believe, I know.
Was that Nietzsche? Was that Nietzsche?
John?